what happened? Oh my goodness, this is not good. Kamala Harris just sat down to give her first solo interview, and unfortunately, it was disastrous. Okay, so we saw her with CNN. She had Tim Walz right next to her. It was very awkward. People didn't think he said much, but he was right next to her the whole time. They were saying that he looked like a support dog. He just looked like a chaperone to hold her hand to make sure she doesn't say anything dumb. But unfortunately, this interview that's only 10 minutes long is not any better. Because for one, it's half the length that the CNN interview was. The CNN interview was 22 minutes. This is 11 minutes, and a lot of it is wasted talking about irrelevant details. Okay, there was a total of about 5 questions that were answered, and it's all just really unfortunate. There's a couple key points that I want to make here, but let's get started. For one, Kamala Harris is extremely nervous here. Okay, that's just me speculating, but look at how she sits down seconds before the interview is. Okay, look at this.
Good. Awesome. Madam Vice President.
I also think part of the reason why she's doing it here, because this isn't with the ABC national network. No, this is with a local, smaller station. And I think part of the reason is because Kamala Harris is scared to be confronted by actual reporters or journalists who are going to push back. They're actually going to fact check her. They're actually going to extract true answers from her. So I think this is very telling. Check this out.
Vice President, pleasure to meet you. Thanks for
Good
your
to meet
time
you,
today.
Brian.
Our audience appreciates your time as
Of
well.
course.
As you know, we're sitting here in a state and arguably in front of an audience that 54 days from now could decide the outcome of this presidential election.
Yeah.
You hear it more than I do. People want to know more about you and about your specific plans. At the debate the other night, you talked about creating an opportunity economy.
Mhm.
I wonder if we can drill down on that a little bit. When we talk about bringing down prices and making life more affordable for people,
Yeah.
what are one or two specific things you have in mind for that?
Well, I'll start with this. I grew up a middle class kid.
What a bad start. Are you kidding me? Honey, you don't have a lot of space here. You don't have a lot of time. You have 10 minutes. Okay. And he's asking a very clear question. Okay. What could you do that would actually bring prices down and make life more affordable? These are in one or two ways. Okay. This is very tangible. And look at how she just elongates her answer. It's almost like, you're in school, you're trying to meet the word count because you actually don't want to give a true answer. It's so childish, really.
My mother raised my sister and me. She worked very hard. She was able to finally save up enough money to buy our first house when I was a teenager. I grew up in a community of hardworking people, construction workers and nurses and teachers. And I try to explain to some people who may not have had the same experience, but a lot of people will relate to this. I grew up in a neighborhood of folks who were very proud of their lawn.
Again, in one or two ways, how are you going to make life more affordable? How are you going to be bringing prices down? But she's ignoring the question. She's dancing around it. She's talking about people's lawns here. What is this? And to be fair, she does eventually give some reasons, but my perspective is that in only 10 minutes, I think people want more concise answers. People want to actually be told what to do. There was a lot of undecided voters that were polled, and they gave answers saying, I just wish we got more details from the debate. I feel like we're being deprived of that. And here's one thing that I would say as well. Compared to President Trump, I think Kamala would actually strive in a long format interview like President Trump does. He goes on the All In podcast, multi hours in length. Same thing with Lex Fridman, multi hour. Same thing with Elon Musk on X Spaces. These are hour-long conversations, okay? And like a communicator like Kamala Harris, I actually think that she would strive in those spaces because she loves to communicate in stories. She does give value, but in a story format, like we're doing here. I grew up in a middle class family. There's nothing wrong with that, but whenever you're dealing with a conversation that is such a limited in a time frame, you need to be more concise. Okay, this is the same problem that I believe RFK had. Okay, he is such a great communicator, but unfortunately, he speaks in paragraphs when people listen in sentences, and I think we're seeing that a lot with Kamala Harris. I'll let her finish this thought here.
you know and and I was raised to believe and to know that all people deserve dignity, and that we as Americans have a beautiful character. You know, we have ambitions and aspirations and dreams, but not everyone necessarily has access to the resources that can help them fuel those dreams and ambitions.
Okay, finally. Now she's actually getting closer to some policies that she's already issued on her website. Okay, like grow small businesses and invest in entrepreneurs. Okay, this is good. She's finally getting there, but unfortunately, it took her a while. And again, this is such a short interview, and she's already wasted about a quarter of the time. And all this is going to be linked up, by the way. But I will skip ahead because there's another thought that I wanted to share here with Kamala Harris at 6 minutes. Check this out.
Bit by surprise in the debate the other night when you mentioned that you are a gun owner. I know you said it in 2019 as well. I want to talk about your values on this issue. When it comes to gun ownership, where do you draw the line in America on gun ownership and gun use?
Well, like you said, Brian, I am a gun owner, and Tim Walz, my running mate, is also a gun owner. We're not taking anybody's guns away.
All right there. She could not have been clearer. We're not taking anybody's guns away, just like she said on Tuesday at the debate. Okay, but watch what she says in about 30 seconds. Okay, because it is so contradictory. Oh my goodness.
I support the Second Amendment, and I support reasonable gun safety laws. Part of my approach to this is I was a career prosecutor for most of my career. I have personally prosecuted homicide cases. I have personally looked at autopsies. I have personally seen what assault weapons do to the human body. And so I feel very strongly that it is consistent with the Second Amendment and your right to own a gun to also say we need an assault weapons ban. They're literally tools of war.
Okay, so 30 seconds ago, you said we're not taking anyone's guns away. Now you're saying we need an assault weapons ban. Before you also said that it would be done through mandatory buybacks. So to me, it sounds like you're just saying you will be taking people's guns away, which again, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying it's inconsistent. The point of doing these interviews is to assure people where you actually stand. And right now, you're not doing that at all. Okay. So I want to move forward just a little bit to this is my final point here. Okay.
He has an historic appeal in this country. And as you are someone running against him and trying to understand that, I wonder how you distill it. What do you understand his appeal to be? And how do you speak to his voters, or maybe people who just share his values but are open to something else?
I, based on experience and a lived experience, no. In my heart, I know, in my soul, I know that the vast majority of us as Americans have so much more in common than what separates us. And I also believe that I am accurate in knowing that most Americans want a leader who brings us together as Americans and not someone who professes to be a leader who is trying to have us point our fingers at each other.
I hear you. I agree with you, but I don't believe you. I don't believe you. Because from what I'm seeing, I just feel like you are actually part of the division. I don't think that you are someone who is actually wanting to be part of the solution. I feel like you're someone who's actually committed to sowing part of this division. And I could see it through how you actually conduct your post on X. Like look at this. Tell me this isn't just creating more division. This you talk about uniting this country, yet you're dividing them through these posts through Kamala HQ. And it's absurd. Like if I go to the media section, the amount of times that you bring up President Trump to just in a really disgusting manner, you're just ridiculing him while also ridiculing his supporters. Okay. And tell me, how is that not showing more division? Also, another thing that I have, another thing that I want to say here is look at all these comments on the actual YouTube on the actual YouTube comment section. This person just said, "Am I wrong, or did she just give the same exact answers as she did at the debate?" And a lot of people have had this concern for quite some time now, okay? Because Kamala Harris just doesn't seem to be thriving in an unscripted, natural environment. She seems to be really good at reading a teleprompter or having some notes on her side and giving these very well-rehearsed response, but it seems to just lack a whole lot of substance, and a lot of people are saying that. Look at this. This other person with a 1.7 with 1.7 thousand likes, they said that's the exact same answer she gave to a similar question during the debate, and it still doesn't answer the question. And look at this. This other comment is talking about the actual length of time here, saying, seriously, 10 minutes and you didn't cover immigration, inflation, foreign policy, flip blocking, fracking, and more questions on the economy. This is way too soft. And clearly, ABC didn't read the criticism from the debate. And this is another thing like that's why she actually didn't do this interview on with that national news station. She just did it with a local one because she knew that the reporter wouldn't actually push back. And it's just really unfortunate to see. Like, this is what Jesse Waters had to say about this same interview. Look at this.
The question was, how are you going to bring down prices? And Kamala's answer was, I grew up around construction workers who took care of their lawns. And then I heard something about ambition and aspiration. Kamala's only idea to fight inflation was price controls, but she's not allowed to say that anymore because it's stupid. So she has nothing to say and just runs out the clock with childhood stories.
And that's exactly what we saw here. Again, it's like you can watch this video and please form your own opinion about it and let me know what you actually think about this in the comments. But I think the point of interviews is actually to speak to undecided voters. It's to actually share your values and convince people why they should vote for you. Okay. I feel like that's what you should be doing, especially after your post debate. You're supposed to be skyrocketing. You thought you won the debate. You're supposed to be like, yeah, I'm going to go do a bunch of interviews. I'm going to go talk to the press. But instead, you did one 10-minute interview with a local station with a reporter who didn't actually push back. And it's just so unfortunate. It's so unfortunate that President Trump with the Trump War Room, they wrote this saying our newest ad just dropped. Okay. And this is actually just a like kind of a double clapback because it's a play on Kamala HQ because they made this post a couple days ago after the debate. They said our newest ad just dropped and it was an hour and it was the entire debate. Okay, it was in the entire debate. The reason why I wrote this, you can see my comment here. I quote tweeted it and I wrote Kamala Harris almost published the entire debate, except she deleted President Trump's closing statement. Don't believe me? Look at this.
Focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by
Okay.
investing right now in you, the American people.
I'm Kamala Harris, and I
She completely cut out President Trump's closing statement. That is so wild. And in case you're wondering how President Trump's closing statement actually did, this is on ABC News's actual official TikTok account. Okay, see, it's verified, everything. And look at this. President Trump's closing statement did 24 million views. Kamala Harris's did 4.6. Okay, what does that say? That says that people actually liked what President Trump was saying, and it resonates more with the critical audiences needed in order to become, the next president of the United States. And another thing that I wanted to know on this interview was it was it was a Link Lauren's thoughts here. Look at what he says.
The last thing I'll say is this. They're really trying to make a silk purse out of a sow's ear with Kamala Harris, but one thing I've realized, she just doesn't have the chops. She doesn't have it in her to be an all-star politician. All right, my friend.
That's a great question. Does Kamala Harris actually have what it takes to hold the highest office on the planet? If she gets this clammy while doing a very simple sit down interview with someone who doesn't even push back, how will she handle the highest office on the planet? I don't know. Personally, I'm kind of thinking I just do not know if Kamala Harris is the best expression of my priorities over the next 4 years. Now, if you think about that question, you could actually say, "Huh, well, you know what? Whenever I sit and I watch this interview, I actually did feel quite represented here. You know, I feel like she actually reflected my values very well, and what she's talking about is how I see the future of this country." So, if you watch that, that's your experience, then by all means, vote for her. I think that is awesome. But personally, I don't know. I have a couple questions. I still feel a bit unsatisfied, and I think a lot of undecided people do as well. So we're gonna see how other people respond to this debate, but I do or this interview, but I do think it's really fascinating. I even saw this post today. They quote tweeted the Trump war room, and they wrote the Trump campaign's response to Kamala Harris's first solo interview is to encourage everyone to watch it. And that's just it's hilarious. And it's really unfortunate for Kamala Harris, especially. And this is probably why she just doesn't do so many interviews. Anyways, let me know what you think about that. Also, what's interesting is see after pretty much this absolutely historic week, seeing this debate on Tuesday, and now seeing Kamala Harris's first solo interview, we're seeing people's the public perception change. Okay, Scott Adams said, "I'm revising my debate scoring. My first impression was a tie, which I called a Harris victory. That makes sense." But the only thing I recall about the debate today is they're eating the dogs, okay? Visual is scary, viral, memorable, repeatable, and directionally correct in terms of unchecked immigration risk. Okay? It's the strongest play of the election. Trump won the debate. Do you agree with that? I don't know. I think there's an argument to be made on both sides. But he continues to say, "I got to stop underestimating his game. Trump had no base hits in the debate, but his long ball is still rising." Agree? I don't know. I wrote this morning. I wrote post debate aura is crazy. Kamala may have vibes, but Trump has presence. I don't know if you guys have seen this video, but it's just some random person recording him, and Trump just points at him, and people love it because Trump has power. He has presence. People like the guy, and it's unfortunately something that Kamala Harris doesn't seem to have. Could she develop it over the next couple years, over, you know, her term if she does become the president? Maybe. Anyways, what do you think about all this? What do you think about this debate? What do you think about how people are discussing this debate? Do you agree or this interview? Do you agree with it? Do you think it was great? Do you have some questions? Are you disappointed with it? Let me know how you feel about all this in the comments. I read every single comment on my last video, and I'm very, very proud of that. But yeah, let me know how you feel about this as this election begins to take more form. Okay, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching and listening. I appreciate your time so much, and I really hope you enjoyed this episode. If you'd like to support what we're building here, please like and subscribe. It means a lot and it really helps us out. And if you want to see even more content from me, make sure to follow me on Instagram. I'm going to be sharing a lot more on there. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you next time.